And item number 5, the oral report, we have Maria Quinones, Jose Fuentes, and Deborah Weintraub. Good morning to you all three. You should receive that invitation to join us as a panelist in the next 5 to 10 seconds. I do not see Jose Fuentes on the line, Maria and Deborah, so just a heads up, if I do see him, I'll add him as a panelist. At this time, I see a hand raised. Let me check that hand raised really quick. Oh, that person just left the meeting. We'll move on at this time to ask for general public comments or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. If you're a member of the general public that would like to provide general public comments or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda, if you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9. If you're joining us through the Zoom application, there is a raise hand icon located towards the lower right-hand side of your screen. You can click that at this time. Again, if you're a member of the general public that would like to provide general public comment or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda, if you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9 or click the raise hand icon if you're joining us through the Zoom application. Last call for members of the general public that would like to provide general public comments or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. If you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9, or you can click the raise hand icon if you're joining us through the Zoom application. We have one person that has raised their hand at this time. We'll open up the audio lines. Dr. Williams, good morning to you. Which item would you like to speak on? If you can unmute your microphone, Dr. Williams. And please let us know which item you'd like to speak on.
Sorry. General public comment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Williams. As soon as we get started, we will add you to the queue for general public comment and item number 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll move on to Bureau representatives. Thank you this morning for joining us this morning. If you're a Bureau representative, Seffi Wiles, Corey Nash, Mary Jane Muir, and Gary Lamb, thank you all for joining us this morning. Should the board have any questions for your Bureau, we will open up those audio lines for you at that time. At this time, we're going to move forward with testing the audio equipment for our commissioners. VP Villegas, you should receive that invitation to join us as a panelist in the next 5 to 10 seconds. And Dr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan, you should receive that invitation as well.
Thank you. I'm not used to being called Dr. Jordan. But technically, my degree is a Juris Doctor.
JD. Yeah. VP Villegas,
Doctor, I think you need to go to school for more than 3 years.
Yeah, it took me about 6 to get through the whole program. VP Villegas, I am still trying to add you as a panelist. If you receive that invitation, if you can just accept that, and then that should allow you to join us as a panelist. I will keep doing my best on my end to keep sending you invitations.
Dr. Campos, I do see one of our attendees has a hand raised, but you probably have caught that already. It looks like
Dr. Williams, yes. Public comments and item 3. Okay, Vice President Villegas, it seems like it's not going through. I'm going to open up the audio lines. And if you can unmute your microphone, we can confirm if you can hear us at minimum. VP Villegas, if you can hear us, if you can unmute your microphone. VP Villegas, we're not getting any audio line connection at this time. Your microphone is still muted. And also the invitations to join us as a panelist are not going through. One of the things that I would recommend is possibly signing off if you can hear us. If you can sign off and then re-sign back in. Sometimes it's a Zoom thing that it's a technical difficulty with Zoom. And perhaps when you dial back in, it'll go through right away. President Garcia, I'm just going to mute myself and I'm just going to reach out to VP Villegas. I believe it's a technical issue with Zoom. And Dr. Davis is on an approved absence, so you do have the other two commissioners on the line. I see VP Villegas. Vice President Villegas, do you want to test your audio line for us?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday.
Great. We have you on the line. I was getting a little worried there.
Are we just waiting for
Dr. Davis
Dr. Davis?
on approved absence today, so we have all
that's right.
on the line. Vice and President Garcia, I can start the audio recording for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
President Garcia, you're now in record mode.
Great. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works for Friday, September 9th, 2022. Dr. Campos?
Good morning, everyone. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, establishing roll call and quorum for this morning. We have President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, and Commissioners Corzan and Reyes. President Garcia, you do have a quorum at this time. As mentioned earlier, Dr. Davis is on an approved absence this morning. At this time, President Garcia, we do have one caller on the line under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We also have one caller on the line for item number 3. In addition to that, President Garcia, we did receive commentary through our online comment portal for general public comment and item number 3, which will be forwarded to all commissioners shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Campos. We'll take general public comment now.
Absolutely. Dr. Williams, if you can please unmute your microphone at this time. The Board of Public Works is considering general public comment. You'll have 2 minutes to speak under this segment. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. As I submitted by written comment, we're celebrating on Sunday Black Walnut Day. Why? Because a group of us have decided to help get and keep the black walnuts in Northeast LA and throughout all of LA. Since the Board of Public Works is in charge of all walnuts, especially those with a cumulative diameter of 4 inches or more, you're not doing your job because they're being cut down rapidly by the LA Fire Department, or under their guidance, they cut down all the brush. And when the developer anticipates future development of his parcel, he uses the fire department brush clearance to cut down everything, so that there's no tree report required, there's no enforcement. You can't stop them because they're oftentimes under contract, and they say, go see so-and-so in the fire department. On the other side, the fire department has told me specifically for brush within 200 feet of my house that, they did a good job on the grass, so let's not deal with the paradise trees or tree of heaven trees this year. We'll do it next year. So it's a question as to how the Board of Public Works influences the Board of Fire Commissioners. Oh, yeah, and the Board of Building and Safety, who have inspectors that can go out, and maybe a few others, such as Department of City Planning, because they don't enforce the 4-inch diameter black walnut protection ordinance that's under the Board of Public Works. So I'll report back next week as to how many people we had and how great it was, and hopefully it won't be too hot, and hopefully it won't rain too much. So thank you very much. Oh, by the way, it wasn't item 3, item 4 that I also wanted to speak on. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. President Garcia, that does clear the queue for general public comments, and we can close that out if you'd like.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Campos, and thank you for our public comment today. Public comments are officially now closed. Moving on to the first item of business, which is the approval of the minutes for Friday, August 26, 2022. Is there a second to my motion to move this item forward and forthwith?
Second.
Thank you, VP Villegas. Dr. Campos, there's a first by me and a second by Vice President Villegas to approve the minutes of Friday, August 26th.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation now. We'll start with you, President Garcia.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, colleagues, it's Happy Friday. I don't know if it's hot in your area or if it's storming in your area. Here we are. So wherever you're at, I hope you're safe and cool. All right, so moving on to item number 1 today. This is a request from the Office of Community Beautification in all council districts. This is a contract amendment and budget increase for the Los Angeles Conservation Corps. Recommending the board, subject to the approval of the mayor, to 1, authorize the Office of Community Beautification to execute a contract amendment to increase the ceiling amount of an existing contract with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps by an additional amount of $12 million. And 2, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendments after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. And we have Director Paul Roch here joining us. Good morning.
Good morning and happy Friday to everyone. As everyone is certainly aware, LA Conservation Corps is one of the nonprofit community-based organizations under contract with the Office of Community Beautification and the Board of Public Works for various services, including graffiti removal, public right-of-way cleanup, river keepers, clean and green, as well as many projects funded through various city council offices. The current contract with the LA Conservation Corps is reaching the ceiling threshold in terms of its authorized funding amount or limit. And this morning, OCB is requesting authority from the board to amend an existing contract with LACC to increase the ceiling threshold. There is one change or amendment to the board report that I would request. The original ceiling amount reflected in the board report was $12 million, which is approximately what we would anticipate will get us through the end of the current fiscal year. The mayor's office has indicated that they would be willing to grant a waiver to Executive Directive 3 review in an amount of $4,010,040. So we would request that the board report be amended to have the board authorize that amount, $4,010,040. And that will allow us to get that funding immediately into the contract and with LA Conservation Corps. We will then have to come back to board with an additional board report for the remaining amount that would go through the Executive Directive 3 process with the CAO. So we'll be back in a couple weeks with another board report for that remaining amount, but we do request board approval for the changed amount so we can get funding immediately into a contract with LACC. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for that. That makes sense. I was going to ask that specific question that you're going to have to come back then. Okay, is there a reason, and I'm sure there is, but can you clarify to the board why we need this $4,010,040 ASAP?
Yeah, so that's the amount that was authorized through the initial contract or through the initial budget process with OCB, graffiti removal, Clean Streets LA, Cleaning Green. And so that will allow us to get those amounts of funding into the contract immediately, as well as we know we have portion of the California for All Youth grant or grant for the River Keepers program with LACC. So we'll be able to get some initial funding into the contract for that as well. And then once we go through the Executive Directive 3 process with the remaining amount, we'll be able to put the rest of the ceiling amount in.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. Any questions, colleagues? Nope, seeing none.
I'm sorry, President Garcia.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, and I was fumbling and I couldn't raise my hand. So, but before you vote, I guess I'm not sure what we're doing now. So, is the Office of Community Beautification now requesting authority to have a contract amendment be executed to raise the ceiling amount not by $12 million, but now only by $4,010,040? So that would be the extent of the contract amendment, and then we'd come back later to request a different amendment that would then bring it back up to whatever dollar amount.
Correct.
In some distant future date. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll be back probably in about 2 weeks because we know that the ED3 process can take a while. And so the remaining amount up to the $12 million will have to come back to board for approval and then go through the ED.
So when we say there'll be some future board report, what we really mean is some future amendment.
Well, there'll be another board report requesting authority to do another amendment. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry to.
No, that's
I'll be all
okay.
clear to you. Thank you.
But I was pretty clear on the amount. So I imagine in a couple of weeks you'll come for the rest, which would be 12 minus the 4 million, that remaining, and then you'll come back again eventually, even perhaps close to next year, to increase it for the rest of the remaining if there's more.
Even perhaps, I mean, one of the unknowns always is how much discretionary funding various council offices, put into the different contracts, and several of them do utilize the LA Conservation Corps for supplemental work and services. So.
Understood. Okay. Ted, are you comfortable with this?
Yeah. So the contract amendment, I don't see it actually in the record. I just see the report describing what will be in the amendment. Unless I'm mistaken, I just don't see it. But it sounds like the only thing the amendment will be doing will be increasing the contract ceiling amount. It will not make any other changes to the contract.
That is correct. Yeah.
Because normally when the board is being asked to approve a contract amendment, you actually have the contract amendment there in front of you.
Okay.
But in this case, the description is sufficiently clear that because that's
it does not change the term of the contract or scope of work or anything like that beyond just increasing the ceiling amount of the contract.
I'm fine with it, President Garcia.
Okay. Thank you. Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. Okay. So just a quick question. I see the ceiling because we've already reached our capacity with LACC. So we're increasing that so the work can still continue to take place. Is there two questions. From your interaction with them and also with the council offices, everyone seems to be okay with the work that LACC has been doing thus far?
Yes. Yeah.
Satisfied?
Yes.
Okay. And then my second question, they are using other nonprofits. They work with other nonprofits to do this work, or is it strictly LACC who's going to be doing all of the work?
Well, for this particular contract, it is pretty much all LACC work. Within there, they do have another contract through OCB for tree planting services that includes the city plants work. And as part of that, they do also have partnerships with like Hollywood Beautification Team,
Yeah.
Northeast Tree, KYCC. So within that contract, they do have partnerships and spread
Okay.
out the work. Within this contract, it's pretty much all LACC.
Okay. Thank you for that. No more questions.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Commissioner Reyes.
So I just, listening, hearing that we will be needing more funding because this is a contract that is actually utilized a lot more than we expect. Is there someone who can take a look at the latest Inflation Reduction Act that just passed? Because that has monies in investments, in support programs that will clean up pollution and create healthy communities, and through climate justice block grants and neighborhood access and equity grants. So it would behoove us to really look at that, because there's a lot of monies coming to the cities, and probably work with the CAO and the mayor's office when that stream of money comes in, that we take advantage of it and name this particular project as one that will be needing more longer term investment and funding.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I appreciate that suggestion. I was not familiar with that additional pot of funding that will be making its way to the city. So I think, yeah, in general, LA Conservation Corps and some of our other nonprofit agencies as well sounds like would be good targets for some of those funds.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Yes, that's actually a topic in our next grant task force, the Inflation Act, and just kind of what we're all thinking around it. So while you have a delegate there, Karina Casillas, who will probably get the info on that.
Good.
But thank you, Commissioner Reyes, for the reminder on that and for the flagging of that, because I do think that, I think our mind always goes to capital improvement and capital projects, but these cleanup efforts and these smaller beautification efforts are just as equally important. So thank you. We'll make sure to kind of bridge all that together and see how we can make something like that happen. Thank you. All right. Any other questions, colleagues? Hearing none, is there a motion to move item number 1 forward and forthwith?
So move.
A second.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Campos, we have a first by VP Villegas and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move item number 1 forward and forthwith.
And President Garcia, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, before we take the voting tabulation, would your board like to consider this as amended? And
Yes, I'm sorry,
Vice
yes.
President Villegas be okay to amend the motion to approve the item as amended and refer this item to the mayor?
Yes, thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just before we close on the vote, on number 1, Paul, the authorize of the Community Office of Community Beautification to execute a contract amendment. How is that different than our authorization on number 2? So I have like number 1 says authorize your office, and then number 2 is authorize the president or 2 members.
To sign it, right? Yeah, I think 1 is to authorize us just to do an amendment and go through the whole process of getting signatures and everything. And then number 2 actually authorizes the president, or in the president's absence, 2 other commissioners to sign the contract.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you for that clarification, making sure. As long
President
as
Garcia, this is Ted again. I'm sorry to interject. So if you wanted to sort of address the issue in the recommendation, I think what Paul has said was number 1 should maybe be authorized the Office of Community Beautification to prepare the contract amendment. And then recommendation number 2 is authorizing the president or 2 members of the board to execute or sign. So I think the word execute in that recommendation number 1 is really meant to be prepare.
I hear, I like that more too. And I'm sorry, we're right in the middle of voting, but I didn't, I wanted to catch that before we went. So Paul, are you okay with striking execute?
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, this is language we've used on board reports in the past, but for the future, we can certainly change the word execute to prepare. I'm
Okay,
fine.
I agree. It just causes a little bit of confusion when 2 authorizations and 2 executions. And I just want to make sure. Okay, so sorry, Vice President Villegas and Commissioner Reyes, are you guys okay with striking the word execute and switching it with prepare?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Fine, okay. So as amended, for $4 million to $10,040 on the ceiling amount for now, and striking execute and installing prepare, Dr. Campos, on the amendment, on the recommendations.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, so there's a first by Vice President Villegas and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move item number 1 forward and forthwith with both 1 correction and 1 amendment.
Yes. We'll go ahead and start the voting tabulation now. We'll start with you, President Garcia.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corzine.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Campos, and thank you, Paul. But I think you're here for number 2 too.
I am, yes.
All right, let me read it into the record and then we'll go through it again. This is a request from the Office of Community Beautification and Council District 14, contract amendment and budget increase, gang alternatives program for supplemental cleanup services in Council District 14, recommending the board, subject to the approval of the mayor, to 1, authorize the Office of Community Beautification to execute a contract amendment to increase the ceiling amount of an existing contract with the gang alternatives program by an additional amount of $678,186, and 2, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendments after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. Paul?
Yes, so I assume we're going to want to change the word execute to prepare in this board report as well, which I'm absolutely fine with. Gang Alternatives Program is another one of the nonprofit community-based organizations under contract with OCB, providing various cleanup and beautification services in South LA, the Harbor area, and portions of Council District 14. The Office of Council Member Kevin De Leon has transferred funding to OCB into the Board of Public Works Contractual Services account to provide an increased level of public right-of-way cleanup services within the community of Boyle Heights. Such work shall include litter cleanup, weed abatement, bulky item collection, and other as-needed duties in the southern half of Council District 14. As part of Council File 21-1392, the council and the mayor have approved the transfer of $678,186 to the Board of Public Works contractual services account to be utilized for supplemental services in CD 14. So again, we're requesting board approval to amend an existing contract with Gang Alternatives Program to provide these services.
Thank you for that, Paul. Any questions, colleagues? And this one is an okay amount, right? You're not changing this amount.
I'm not changing that amount.
Okay, that seems pretty fair.
I'm not sure, and maybe Ted or Fernando can help me out. Does this one need to go for ED3 approval as it's been approved by council and by the mayor already with the transfer of funding, or does it still go through ED3 approval?
Dr. Campos or Ted, can we get a clarification on Paul's question?
At face
No,
value,
my recommendation would be to leave the language in here. Well, actually, it doesn't say subject to the approval of the mayor. It is subject to the approval of the mayor. I guess what Paul is saying, the mayor's already approved it. If we put subject to the approval of the mayor and the mayor's already approved it, then there's nothing more to be done. I don't know what the mayor did in this case, so I don't know if
The mayor approved the council file action that transferred the funds.
And was it clear in the council file action that transferred the funds that the purpose of that fund transfer was specifically to allow the contract to be amended?
Yes.
I think that's good enough.
Okay. Dr. Campos?
I concur with Mr. Jordan regarding that. The council file does authorize the Office of Community Beautification through the Board of Public Works to prepare all contract amendments to effectuate the intent of the transfer and also the contract amendments.
Okay. Okay, so I think you're okay as
Good on
is.
that one. Great.
Yeah. So the only thing we would just strike execute and put prepare as a correction on the recommendation number 1. All right, colleagues, is there a motion on the table to move item number 2 forward and forthwith with the correction of striking execute and installing prepare on recommendation number 1? I'll move. Is there a second to my motion to move item number 2 forward and forthwith?
I'll second.
Thank you, VP Villegas.
I just stayed mute just to let others.
Yeah, because you're like, great. All right, Dr. Campos, there's a first by me and a second by Vice President Villegas to move item number 2 forward and forthwith as with the correction of striking execute and adding prepare.
We will start the voting tabulation now, and we'll start with you, President Garcia.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Campos, and thank you, Paul, for your time this morning. I think we are done with your items, right?
Think so. Yep. Thank
right.
you. Everybody have a great weekend.
You too, have a good weekend. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 3. This is in all council districts. This is an AFE for miscellaneous vendors. From the request from the Bureau of Contract Administration and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution for an authority for expenditure in the amount of $83,700 to pay various advertising media services for the Office of Wage Standards. I believe we do not have a public comment anymore, right, Dr. Campos, on this one?
Great question. Let me just double check with Dr.
Yeah.
Williams. I believe he changed his mind from 3 to 4, but let me just double check.
Okay,
Dr.
thank you.
Williams, if you can please unmute your microphone. Just want to confirm that you no longer want to speak on 3 and it's item 4 that you'd like to
Correct.
speak on.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for confirming that, Dr. Williams.
Thank you.
President Garcia, that is correct. And the presenter is Margaret Robinson.
All right, good morning, Ms. Robinson, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, President Garcia, commissioners and executive staff. My name is Margaret Robinson, and I am with the Office of Wage Standards, Bureau of Contract Administration. Based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers for the Los Angeles metropolitan area, which is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the minimum wage rate increased to $16.04 on July 1st, 2022 for both small and large businesses. Due to this increase with AE 23760001M, we are requesting your authorization to spend $83,700 on radio stations and digital outlets in multiple languages to continue strategic advertising efforts to target ethnic and diverse communities of employers and employees and inform the public of the minimum wage rate increase. The advertisements provide the necessary notice to reach a large and broad audience in 9 various languages and will inform both employers and employees about the minimum wage increase, paid sick leave requirements, and the Fair Chance Initiative for Hiring ordinance, specifically in geographic areas with high concentrations of ethnic and immigrant populations. Please refer to the attached ads proposal for a breakdown of expenditures for each advertising medium. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson, for that report. Any questions on this item, colleagues? Seeing none. Ms. Robinson, is this your campaign or your advertisement that you're about to do? What are you going to be advertising?
I'm sorry, one more time, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry about that. This new request that you're asking for, and you're going to provide some advertising and media services. What will you be advertising? Is this for the minimum wage increase?
It's for the minimum wage increase, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you started, or this will get started as soon as we when this board report gets approved?
Once this is approved, we'll get started.
Okay. And you will be targeting bigger companies. I'm sorry, I just want to know who your target audience will be.
So our target audience is for the for geographic areas with high concentrations of the ethnic and immigrant populations. So we're gonna advertise in 9 various languages, which will be Spanish, Armenian, Chinese, which include Mandarin and Cantonese, Tagalog, Korean, Japanese, Thai, Vietnamese, and Russian speakers.
Okay, but are you targeting some a specific industry?
No,
No.
This-
Okay, it's just general.
this is generals.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right, I don't see any questions from our commissioners. All right, is there a motion on the table to move this item forward and forthwith?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second? I'll second. Dr. Campos, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by me to move item number 3 forward and forthwith.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation now. We'll start with you, President Garcia.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, Ms. Robinson, for your time.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing all these wonderful advertising commercials and postings and everything else to make sure that our community and our public is aware of this increase of the minimum wage. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your weekend. All right, colleagues, we have finished on our voting items. Moving on to our oral reports for today. This is item number 4, a status update on major upcoming street improvement projects from the Bureau of Street Services. Before we get to our Bureau Street Services delegate here, we're going to take public comment. Public comment, Dr. Campos?
Absolutely. Dr. Williams, if you can please unmute your microphone at this time. The Board of Public Works is considering item number 4. You'll have 2 minutes to speak under this segment. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I would usually prefer to speak after the presentation, but anyway. The basic elements for number 4, street trees. Okay, the problem with street trees is we need more monitoring and enforcement. You need to have an agreement or a cooperation agreement, lead, MOA, of the Board of Public Works and the Board of Building and Safety, because Building and Safety have inspectors. And when we get 311 saying, well, the Board of Public Works will send inspectors out, maybe, but we do need to get some inspection done and some monitoring. And I would highly recommend that the board instruct CPAC to start doing documentation of the street trees. And it can be done quite easily by Google Earth Pro satellite images, which are taken every 2 to 6 months and are available online. They also have Street View, which means you can actually see what the tree is that is of concern. And you can document when it was last trimmed and or last cut down. So there's quite a few things there. So just protect the trees, because they're the only shade that we've had for several days now. And it's much nicer under a 35-foot canopy with shade. So please get with Board of Building and Safety and work out something to document, monitor, and enforce tree removals. Thank you.
Thank you for the public comment. Appreciate your always making sure we're on point, Dr. Williams. Okay, moving on to Mr. Gary Brandt from the Bureau of Street Services, who will update us on upcoming street improvement. projects. Welcome, Mr. Brandt.
Thank you. Thank you. And good morning, President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, and Commissioners Reyes and Coruscant. This is our Streets LA Major Street Project Update. This information is being provided to keep the public informed on the upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays to the commuters. Streets LA would like to provide you with an update on all major upcoming street improvement projects. There are no major street projects scheduled in the metro resurfacing region during the week of 9/11 through 9/17/22. Excuse me. The following major street projects are scheduled in the Valley resurfacing region during the week of 9/11 through 9/17/22. Saturday, 9/3 through Sunday, 9/18/22 from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We will begin cold milling and paving Foothill Boulevard from Hillhaven Avenue to Jardine Avenue. CD7 Sunland Tahunga Neighborhood Council Pavement Preservation Program Fund. Let's see, on beginning Tuesday 9/2 through Thursday 9/15/22 from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We will begin cold milling and paving Hubbard Street from Shablo Avenue to Eldridge Avenue, CD7 Sylmar Neighborhood Council Pavement Preservation Program Fund. Additionally, we will provide an update on our 22-23 Pavement Preservation Program. During the week of 9/11 through 9/17/22, the Metro region will complete 6 projects for a total of 5.97 lane miles. During the week of 9/11 through 9/17/22, the Valley region will complete 10 projects for a total of 8.5 lane miles. The press releases were broadcasted and notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the council district offices to assist with the outreach to stakeholders and have coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This information is also available on the Streets LA website, streetsla.lacity.org. For additional information or concerns, you can contact Sherrard Nichols at 213-847-3200. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brandt, for that report. Any questions, colleagues? Seeing none, thank you once again. I enjoy your weekend and look forward to all those great projects happening.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 5, which is the status update on homeless projects brought by the Bureau of Engineering. And I see Ms. Quinones and Ms. Weintraub here. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, President Garcia. Good morning, Commissioners. Marina Quinones here, Bureau of Engineering, along with Deborah Weintraub. We are going to be presenting, let me get it up for a moment here. We're going to review our homeless housing program. Can everybody see the screen? Okay, good. So I'm going to just review the program. So the city has taken a multifaceted response to the homeless crisis. And through the presentation, I'm going to review a few of the typologies that we've been working on. Permanent housing and services facilities, a bridge home, which are sprung structures and existing buildings, tiny home villages, safe sleep sites, home key sites, and residential housing. I'll go through those through our timeline. So I've created a timeline starting from 2018 to the present time, depicting the projects, just the different typologies and milestones that we've hit throughout the years. And I'm going to be reviewing that with you in that manner. In 2018, the BOE was asked to join a temporary structures working group comprised of everyone listed here. CAO was the leading department, mayor's office, various council districts, and the Bureau of Engineering. Since 2018, the Bureau of Engineering has been hands-on with the program from the very top. Deborah, our chief deputy city engineer, Jose Fuentes, our deputy engineer, have been thoroughly involved in the program since the beginning. We've had in-house staff of architects, engineers partake in design and project management. We've also collaborated with various divisions in the Bureau, survey group, geotech, or environmental. So the Bureau of Engineering have definitely provided various resources from the Bureau to assist in the process. We've worked with LADWP, the Fire Department, LA Department of Building and Safety, and Bureau of Sanitation. We've worked with them directly in codifying the code, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The Temporary Structures Working Group ultimate goal was to create a process to fast track projects. And so we worked directly with those groups, general services, both leasing, procurement, and also construction groups worked closely with us in delivering projects. LA Police Department and LASA have been very key during construction. They've partaken in just keeping our construction area safe. LASA has cleared encampments that needed to be cleared for us during the process. So these are some of the groups that were part of the working group. Again, the goal was to lay a foundation for Mayor Garcetti to declare an emergency shelter in April of 2018. The ordinance listed here codified the code. So we made changes to the code to allow us to build faster and definitely to reduce costs. We eliminated specific requirements in the code like LID, which is low impact development, some aspects of the green code. We also reduced plumbing requirements that affected our infrastructure directly. And so that was a great established process for the mayor to declare a shelter, declared an emergency shelter crisis in April 17th. Through that, we were able to build our first pilot project, which is here El Puente on the corner of Arcadia and Alameda. It was a shelter for 45 people. We built this in 6 months. The cost per bed was about $35,000. It has 3 residential units, which is here. These 2 were male. The one on the right, it was a female, and then this is admin, hygiene, and a shade structure. So this was our first pilot project. And so that's what the working group established. During this time, we also started the review of sprung structures, which I'll go through in a moment. Also in 2018, the BOE was approached in regards to Proposition HHH funding to build permanent supportive housing and also services facilities, and I'll go through that as well. In 2019, March, we saw our first A-Bridge home in CD13. It is now CD4. It comprised of a congregate living model within this sprung structure here. It provided case management, hygiene services, laundry. It did have individual sleeping modules, as you see in the picture on the right here. Everybody had an 8x8 sleeping space, a cabinet, a bed, USB, also a private light for reading. This was also a low barrier to entry facility. There are amnesty lockers and pet areas. Some shelters were experiencing low volume of people because people wanted to bring their pets in. And so these sites have a pet area. They also provide a kennel that is placed inside their sleeping module for safety, just for people around. We also provided interior and exterior community areas. BOE established the design standards for this program, design standards for the sprung structure, hygiene units, as you see here on the left. The interior of this sprung structure, this is the 60 by 180. had interior community spaces. And the value of using a 60 by 180 versus a 60 by 100 is that you can bring people indoors and eliminate the cost of building a shelter outside that has limitations in regards to code and also cost. And so this was Schrader, our first one in 2019. 2019, we also saw the construction of our first permanent housing, supportive housing in CD4. This was Gardner Street Women's Bridge Housing. It is an old library, the Hollywood Library on Gardner. This was an in-house design project. BOE staff of architects and engineers designed this project completely, and GSD built completed the renovation. This was a congregate living model, provided case management, hygiene services, laundry. It accommodated 32 women who had suffered some sort of trauma. And so this design did use trauma-sensitive design, which really provides areas of privacy, and some are not. So if you see in this picture on the right, this is a communal area, more dense. We have bunk beds. And then the area here on the left by the reception desk, which is actually the original desk from the library. It's a beautiful centerpiece now for the shelter. The areas here, the low walls, this is a more private area. So some women cannot take they don't feel safe in the density here with bunk beds. And so we had to have this informed design within the building. We also created spaces here on the middle picture using bookcases from the library. We reused them, areas where you can sit and just, relax, read a book, look outside. And so this became a really beautiful project, highly accepted by the community, and they're still very involved providing books for the community on grand opening day. So it was a great time. In 2019, we were also approached to build navigation centers, and I'll go through that in a moment as well. 17 months later, from our first sprung structure, we had our last CD2 Van Nuys. We built 16 locations in 17 months. We provided 1,360 beds. I do have a chart here. I don't know how I can move this. We have a chart here kind of showing all of the districts that have bridge homes. Also project cost, total project cost as well, and beds, and then cost per beds. And so 2020 was a great year for the completion of the ABH program. In 2020, if you recall, we had an injunction issued by Judge Carter, and BOE started the research of tiny home villages. In 2020 as well, City Council approved $100 million in CRF funds. That's when the BOE came to the board and requested a sole source contract to design tiny home villages. And also get an exemption for BIP. In 2021, we completed 3 navigation centers. And so these are permanent services facilities. They provide case management, hygiene services, laundry, and personal storage. We had 3 locations, CD2, CD8, and CD15. Again, these were navigation centers. Gardner was the homeless shelter that I showed you earlier. All 4 projects were funded by Proposition HHH. We managed about $14 million in 3 years. In 2021, we also engaged Save Sleep. These were parking lots essentially leased by the city to create tent cities, or a tent project. We created 10 by 15 spaces allocated as such in the picture. These are double occupancy, case management is provided, as well as hygiene services and daily meals. LASA works with third-party providers to essentially set up the site, bring the tents, bring cots, and people are able to move in. This really fit a demographic that was lacking in the city. A lot of people actually don't want to go into a shelter. They want to sleep in a structure, in a tent. They want to be in the street. They want to be in a tent. And so this fit a demographic that was missing. And currently the Lincoln Theater site is to capacity at 95. We do have 2 sites, CD13 and CD9. These were about just under $2 million for both sites. Home Key Sites was another program we engaged with and with the CAO. These are CAO-led projects. The CAO engages a provider, a service provider, who then hires a contractor and an architect to develop an existing building. And these facilities are congregate living. They also provide case management, hygiene services, laundry, and daily meals. BOE's involvement with these projects was progress assessment, construction assistance with building and safety, plan check and inspections, and we also process payment requests. There are 3 sites. Parthenia is completed, King Solomon as well. VOA-LA needs a couple of months to complete, but it'll be 407 beds, just over $22 million. In 2021, we saw our first tiny home village. This is in CD2, Schrader. This is, not Schrader, sorry, Chandler. Single and double occupancy, case management, hygiene services, laundry, daily meals, low barrier to entry as well, exterior communal spaces. And the value of these villages is that the infrastructure is very localized. So if you look at Chandler on the right here, this is the admin and laundry structure, and this is the hygiene area. So this area to the right is the only area that has power, water, and sewer. The rest, we're only pulling electrical for power to the rest of the site. So it definitely impacts the low cost for these compared to other shelters that I'll review a little bit later. 14 months later, here we are. In March of this year, we built our 10th tiny home village. This is Eagle Rock, built in March. So we built 10 locations throughout the city in 14 months so far. One is in construction, 161 beds, which is the San Fernando and Brantford site, which is geared to complete in October. So as of October, we will have built 1,408 beds, just over $61 million. And the average cost for the tiny home villages, as you can see, ranges from $29,000 up to $69,000. It really varied on site location, availability of infrastructure, and that is about the average we are landing at right now, just under $46,000 per bed. Did I cover all of this? Oh, the funding for these tiny home villages has been CTIEP funds, CRF, HEAP, and HAP. Our last approach to residential, to housing is our residential prototype, currently under construction in CD1. This is called the Northeast New Beginnings. It is our first residential project. It is a multiple occupancy accommodation. As you can see here in the plan, it's a 12 by 28 unit. It has a kitchen, living area, bathroom, 1 bedroom, and then a nook area here where you can put a bunk bed. So this typology could be used for families, which is a demographic we haven't addressed yet. So it is a multi-occupancy accommodation. As you can see in these images here, 1 module will be stitched together to provide duplexes or fourplexes. They will provide case management, laundry. It is also low barrier to entry with amnesty lockers and a pet area with exterior communal spaces. This is as close to as a house we can get. So this, I'm showing an image here of the interior space. The image to the right of that is an image at the warehouse. These are custom made. They are state certified modules. And to the right, you see as they're coming down the assembly line, and they are ready to be delivered in November. Excuse me, in November. So this is Northeast New Beginnings. Look out for it. It will be done in January. And as a quick summary, the last 4 years, we've built 36 projects, just over $200 million, and just under 3,700 beds. And again, these are interim beds, which means that they are meant to recycle. You know, we are housing more than the number of beds that we've provided, which is always something good to remember. People are supposed to stay here 6 to 9 months, and they are then placed into permanent housing. The last image, you know, why we do what we do. These are images of people who've been housed in tiny homes, a bridge. And then the picture on the right is Sang, who got housed from Tiny Home Sunflower in Tarzana. She is now in permanent supportive housing. The LASA group did release their 2022 homeless count yesterday. And I just want to share some statistics. We have a 62% increase in shelter beds since 2019. We're housing more people than ever before. The city of LA saw an increase in homelessness of 1.7% since 2020. The increase between 2018 and 2022 was about 32%. And so we are definitely going in the right direction. LASA has all this information on their website. If you would like to look into the numbers per district, they are providing that very detailed account on their website. But that is our summary of the homeless program. Deborah and I are here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Marina, for your very, very beautiful presentation. And I love how you put the timeline together. That's really nice to see. The very first slide you showed was really impacting, to be honest with you. I do feel that BOE has really put in their time and their effort on making sure that we address the homeless situation in the city. And it was a nice increment to see that we've technically gone up 1%, but in reality, like you said, Marina, there's been a lot more. These are rotating beds, so the idea is that you haven't just built 3,000, I think 600 or 800 beds, but this is to feed more than just that. This is just kind of like the base, is what I see it as. So, wow, this is amazing work that BOE has done. I also really like your last slide that you just showed, where you kind of dotted, literally dotted that one. I really liked that one, and I actually, if I can get a copy of that, I really want it, because it just gives you a aggregated data, visual data of what, you know, BOE has done. I know that you guys have done way more than just dots, 100%.
Yes.
I know that, but to us, this really gives us just kind of the overall impact that BOE has really done. I'm going to open it up for my colleagues for questions. I just want to say thank you, Marina and Deborah, for all your efforts that you have put. I know you have led the way in many of these efforts, and I've shared with you some of the ribbon cuttings and the celebratory times, but I know that building them is work. It's a lot of work. And our engineers and the engineers that work behind you and under you are also part of this effort. So please send your team our very heartfelt thank you for working so hard since 2018 up until now, and more to come, I'm sure. So thank you for that. Wow, this is Marina, how often do you come and provide us reports?
I'm very often.
Okay, it's just, I don't think I had seen one in a while, so that's why I was asking. I actually put that as my note. How often do you come?
Yeah, it's been about 2 months since I was here last.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's been a long time for me then. Been a long 2 months then. But I just have to say, you've done a really great job in visualizing what you guys have done. So thank you for that. Sometimes I know we can shortchange ourselves by not really putting the work that you've done in presentations like this, but I think you guys have done a really good job in doing that. I would also recommend that as you keep building, use that same timeline you're using now and just, add on to it. Eventually it'll come super long that you only like 2 pages, but for now, just keep on adding as much as you can. I really hadn't seen it that way, and I enjoy seeing it that way. It just gives you more of a impact. So thank you for everything you've done. I'm gonna see if my colleagues have any questions. I see Commissioner Reyes with her hands up. Commissioner Reyes.
Yeah, thank you for the report. Very enlightening, especially with the recent LA Times report and the report that last released. My question is, do we work with philanthropists who volunteer to fund, like, say, tiny homes that we just have to give them an area for to build it? How do we work with that? Because that's kind of like free money, free wraparound services. What is our policy on that?
So Deborah and I have been reached out to by developers, people interested in funding projects. So we basically refer them to the CAO. That's something that, they manage inside and outside of city entities. And so they're the ones who are referred to.
But do we have a specific pilot project that we have tested, or have we not started working with people with money or those who are willing to donate and work with us on homelessness? We haven't.
Commissioner, in the Bureau of Engineering project, there has been no philanthropically funded projects. There has not been. But as Marina stated, we have been approached by philanthropists, and we refer them to the CAO, and the CAO is talking with them.
So basically it's the decision of the CAO, and the CAO has to work with them. Okay. Yes. I'm just curious because there's other resources that we can tap into, especially if we are to multiply. I like the tiny homes concept, but I would like to see more permanent housing as well. Thank you so much for your report.
One thing I would say about the tiny home model is that we in the Bureau of Engineering, under Marina's leadership, which has been extraordinary, really know how to do these. And we know how to do them so they are villages, meaning it's not just putting the tiny homes on a parking lot. We create public spaces and communal spaces. We use a very cheap way to make them comfortable and beautiful, which is paint colors. And so the feedback we get from the residents who move in is that they feel like they're special.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I still remember when we were having discussions of the Hollywood Library, but it looks really beautiful. Thank you for those pictures, and I'm glad you guys were able to repurpose some of the furniture. That's something that we really call on. So thank you for that, Commissioner Corson.
Thank you, Marina and Deborah, for the report. Marina, you touched on the last report from yesterday with an almost 2% increase. I personally thought it was a victory because it showed a lot of progress that, specific to what we just got a presentation on. The success came with a big shift in the number of sheltered homeless, and the number of unsheltered went down from 2020. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that would have been possible without your work, BOE's work, the number of sheltered units that the city has created the last 4 years. So I just wanted to acknowledge that because you brought up that 2% increase. And like I said, in CD3, the number of sheltered homeless tripled, which some have cited as saying it's like, oh my God, but I think it's fantastic. Like, we're getting people off the streets, getting them dignified housing and services, and we're seeing the same in CD2, CD6. It's for someone from the Valley, it was a lot of great work, and a lot of it originated from BOE with tiny homes and a bridge home. So I just wanted to shed some light on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. Vice President Villegas.
Thank you, and thanks for your report also, Marina. It was really insightful. It's always good to hear, all the projects that are going on throughout Los Angeles. I really liked your map as well. And I'm just going to say this for the record. I can see that we still have districts within central Los Angeles that don't have any projects as of yet, and that's Council District 11 and 5. With heavy populations as well. It's not your issue, I understand that, but it's part of the inequities that exist throughout Los Angeles still in 2022. I also just just this week, we had the announcement of both candidates for mayor offering plans for housing the the unhoused. So it's interesting that this issue is really front and center. And it was just a matter of time before we got such, good results from Los's report that came out this week. So just a testament to the Bureau's quick work on all of these. I know that it really puts an emphasis on engineering and just your consultants also that you work with. So I'm glad that we've been able to make this possible, and through council's direction as well, just to really streamline the process and not get boggled down with eliminating additional action, things like that. Thank you.
Commissioner Villegas, I don't know, maybe we missed it, but we did do a large facility in CD11, which included both a congregate sprung structure and separate facilities for youth, and it actually had some structures on it for families, and it was a complicated project to do.
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah,
that's excellent. I'm really glad about that. The ways of you doing the housing just being more inclusive of just families is change of direction as well. So that's lovely. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Villegas, if you have my PDF, it's on the spreadsheet. It's CD11, Sunset, has 154 beds.
Marina, we also did the VA in Westwood.
CD5, correct.
Okay, CD5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for that, Vice President Villegas. I know there's more to come. And we have more to fulfill throughout the city. And, when we see those big numbers and we see kind of, the number of beds, it's almost like it's so far off the balance, I guess I want to say that. But I do see the amount of effort that the BOE has really put into making sure that we do decrease that. And I also want to congratulate you because I think you are also BOE has been a direct impact in decreasing that number that was really spelled out yesterday from LASA. So thank you for that. And actually, Commissioner Corson and I were discussing some of that those numbers yesterday, and we want to say that we've seen ourselves a huge decrease of encampments in the community. I don't know if you guys have driven around the streets and kind of look around, but that's a lot of what I do most of the time. I like to really just kind of look at the streets, sidewalks, all of that great stuff. And the other day I was out and about in the night and I was just really surprised, where are we? We really made a big decrease in those encampments in our streets, and I really do think it's a direct impact of what you guys have been doing. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. And I also like how flexible and adaptable BOE has been to target the different communities of unhoused individuals. So I saw, single folks, I saw folks with pets, now I'm seeing families, housing for families and so forth. So you guys have really come to this flexible situation to adapt to what really needs to be done out in the streets of the city. So thank you for doing that. And with that's the only way we could work and really make an impact, to be flexible and really adapt to what we see and not what we think we need to do, but really what's out there and adapt that way. You guys have all done it by seeing the different types of structures that you all have built. So, you know, you guys have enriched yourselves in experience, but I also want to say you have provided a lot of good homes for our residents of the city. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm really proud of all of you guys doing that. So thank you for doing that. All right, enough of all the praising. I'm kidding. I think I can't say more. I think Lasa's numbers yesterday should topples my praising, and it's just kind of like an affirmation of, yep, BOE is doing the right thing. So thank you to BOE, sanitation, and all the other partners involved in making this happen. I believe Bureau of Contract Administration has a piece of it as well. So thank you to Bureau of Contract Administration and just everybody that's involved. Everybody's very much dedicated to making this happen. And it shows. I mean, you know, again, the numbers show yesterday that, you know, 1.7 increase. That's really good to hear. It's a 31% decrease, if I'm not mistaken, based on the data.
Yeah, from previous data, correct.
So if we flip it over on data and we say it was a 31% decrease, it makes us even sound better.
That's true.
I just want to say, I'll stop now because I know that we're all really excited about this, but thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. It's working.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies. Thank you. And thank you also, Mr. Fuentes, for being on the line.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. All right, Dr. Campos, have we cleared today's desk?
Yes, you have.
All right. Thank you for that. It is now 11:16 on Friday, September 9th of 2022, and this meeting is officially now adjourned. Colleagues, 5 minutes just for a break, and then we'll have a quick management meeting. Thank you.